Good evening, viewers, and welcome again to Discovering Truth. And I am Pastor Forbes from the Gateway Abiding Word Ministries in the Gambia. We will be continuing our discussion on the now released National Development Plan, the blueprint we've all been talking about, and just having some ideas on the way forward with it for all of us. I've always said that when you have a goal, an objective, an idea of where you are going to, one, there are no more excuses because you have it. And suddenly, if it's well articulated and it's clear and simple to understand, then where it's relevant to you in your area of skill and responsibility, then you run with it with all your strength. That's what a vision is all about. Sometimes people ask me, how do you do what you do? Why do you do what you do? You are everywhere. It's because of the vision and the calling of God upon our lives. So we'll be discussing that. But I want to start this evening by saying that there's a lot of joy in Abiding Word Ministries today. And this particular day is the 23rd of January, and this is 2018. That's because we are celebrating the 50th birthday, the Golden Jubilee of our executive pastor, Pastor Alhaji Tiana. Some of you know him as Alhaji, some know him as Tiana. A lot of us fondly call him Pastor T or EP, and I call him K, and he calls me K, like Mbarinke. And Pastor T is a gem from God, a man from God, humble, just a great, great, great leader that we all love and respect. And we want to share him with the country and with the world, because we know that all Abiding Word members, gatekeepers, wherever they are in the world, this day are celebrating this man at his 50th birthday. When you are 50, you know, you've really clocked a lot. And his history, his testimony, his integrity, his Christian service, his love for God is there. And I'm glad to call him my friend, my brother, my pastor, my counselor. I just love him so much, and I'm sure that sentiment is shared by everybody in Abiding Word Ministries, local and global. And not only do we wish him a happy Golden Jubilee birthday, we also really thank the Tiana family, the Dabo family, and all the families that have made this great man to be part of us. We thank them and wish them well. So if you know him and you find him anywhere, I'm sure you'll find him smiling and thanking God as you appreciate him for the goodness of God in his life, and listen to his counsel and his wisdom and the blessing of God in his life. And so we are glad, and I'm excited, as you can tell. And Pastor T, happy 50th birthday to you. Happy Golden Jubilee. We want to continue because we've been saying that, let me put it in three groupings, or maybe two. The first group was we were crying for a national vision, a national development program, a plan, a blueprint. We had all kinds of names for it, because the understanding of everybody in the country when we transition was that, in essence, this was a transitional government coming to sort of reset the step of the nation and send us back on the path that God has for us. And so it's important, if that is still true and tenable, which it should be, to know that then there is a vision, a development plan in its short possible time, and its medium term, and its long term. Obviously, every vision is going to be ambitious, but as I said last week, one of the things that cause a lot of people to fail with vision is when they feel that they must do the vision, they must implement it, and until they are done, it cannot live. We've learned that visions outlive people. They are made to be like that. So when you read a national development plan, even if it's 7 years, it cannot be done, because there are so many unknowns globally, sub-regionally, continentally, and in the lifestyles of people around the world. There are so many unknowns in currency speculation, and climate patterns, and demographics, and people movement, and all kinds of things. People pledge monies and they don't give. And a lot of things are done in anticipation that if this happens, that will happen. And but if we understand that we can kickstart some things and allow them to take a life of their own in the thinking of the people for whom it is done, then our impact and our push is little. There is a verse, for example, in the Bible that goes like this. Paul planted, somebody called Apollos watered, and God gave the increase. So in the total fruition of that plant, that vegetable, that fruit, or whatever that thing was, somebody was in a planting season. And that's all he was called to do. Somebody else was in the watering season. You cannot water what has not been planted. And you cannot plant something and leave it unwatered. But at the end of the day, it is God in his goodness, in his mercy, and in his perfect timing that brought the increase that we see fruition. And if, let's say, I am used at the fruition stage, it will be unwise of me to beat my chest and say that I am the one that did it. I didn't do it. I just happened to be at the end point of everything, but somebody planted, somebody watered, and God gives the increase. So that timeline outlives governments. I mean, the best of the countries of the world that we may want to ascribe to and maybe willingly take their passport and try to imbibe and inculcate and juxtapose their way of governance into our world, they have that thinking. There are countries where no party can be in power for more than 2 consecutive terms. No president can serve, and they come and they go. Now, when you want to outlive your usefulness and the clapping has stopped on the stage and you are still there, the clappings change into boos and tomatoes in your face because they don't want to see you. Time has gone. And ladies and gentlemen, the truth is that we all know that we live in such a world that there are tweaks all the time. Take for example our tablets, our cell phones. They are made, and all things being equal, they are made well. But suddenly there is a virus attack. Suddenly there's a Trojan here. Suddenly there is something, and there's going to be a fix. There's going to be a 11.0, 11.01, 11.2. So you have to tweak. So it becomes, well, but you can see that there is a continuity that should outlive those who started. And that's the joy of it. So I hope that as we all look at it, and we flesh it out, and it's been critiqued properly, and where it's been critiqued, it's listened to, because as I said last week, I remember hearing His Excellency the President, Adam Abaro, saying that a government that listens and learns is a government that will go far. And so listening and learning can be a short-term thing for quick impact. You can never, anywhere in this world, ignore. You can never, anywhere in this world, write off the impact of Jesus Christ on the entire human race. So history is divided into BC and AC. BC meaning before Christ, BC, before Christ, and AC meaning in the year of our Lord, which is where we are now. And the truth is that he lived for just 33 and a half years on planet Earth. And out of those 33 and a half years, 3 years were devoted to his ministry, his purpose that has brought a global change to our world. 3 years. He didn't need 57 years. Because as people like to say, there is a life after government, there is a life after diplomacy, there is a life after the presidency. So we look at some nations of the world, and not just even in the northern hemisphere, in Africa, in West Africa, there are not less than 4 or 5 past Nigerian presidents alive. Ghana, joyfully. Now, each one of these presidents thought that when they sat on the chair, they would change Ghana, change Nigeria, change the world. It's still a work in progress. It's like a relay race. It's 100 meters that's given to you. And when you run with all your fire, you have to hand this baton to somebody who is already running, waiting for the baton. And once the baton hits their hand, they keep running, knowing that somebody else is going until it ends. And so in our understanding of this national plan, this vision, we must inculcate that and take movement with it for it to happen. And when that happens, names will be etched in our national history as names that helped make the Gambia the new Gambia. The things we have fought, the things that have fought us, the things that have really impeded our national progress for our demographics and our population size and for all the goodwill we have. We must be able to overcome those things. And that we will if we deal with some of these little things. Let us understand that no matter what a vision is, it's going to outlive us. Secondly, as I've said over the past 2 weeks, and I want to say this again, it's a joy to hear us talk about the diaspora, and now we have an 8th region of the Gambia called the Diasporan Region. Maybe they'll have their own governors somewhere. But it's a joy to just see them come home. And when you interface with diasporan Gambians, you see an eagerness, you see an excitement. They want agriculture to turn around. They want education to turn around. They want the health system to turn around. They want financial system to turn around. Everywhere, transitional justice, commerce, everywhere, sports, media. But there's going to be an interface somewhere. And when the two touch, there's going to be something that we have to work out so we can move forward. Because if one group thinks that this is the way to do it, and the other group thinks that we are going to have a problem. Because as I said, especially one of the forums I attended that His Excellency the President opened, a lot of names were all over the place and people were taking photographs and it was great. Why were we celebrating those people? One, it is because they came home. 2, it's because they've decided to give back. But 3, it's because they have the wherewithal to do 1 and 2. But as I'm saying, and take this to the bank, if you ask any of them, how did you make it? They're going to tell you a sense of purpose. They're going to tell you punctuality. They're going to tell you time is money. I was paid by the hour. I had to meet my deadlines. I had to exceed deadlines. And the interesting thing is that everything that possibly they used to do here, maybe they did there, but in measured ways. People clocked in at 8 o'clock. The same people that will drink attire, the same people that want to eat mburu, akara, and talk about all the Yusunduru shows of last week, the same people will clock in on time. They are never late because they have to swipe in. They have to meet their deadlines. Haven't we noticed that all the diasporans that came here had a great time, but when it was time to go home, they boarded their flights and went home because work is waiting for them. If they don't work, they won't eat. And it is from that work that we are now hearing that $200 million, $4.2 million is remitted every year. And we enjoy that. Family members enjoy that. Much needed money added into possibly the foreign exchange earnings of this country. Makes a little difference. Now, if that amount of work and energy and effectiveness and punctuality and intelligentsia and fiscal power comes back home, it is not a non-Gambian that came home. It's a Gambian. It's what we call Kumbabanjul, Sambabanjul. It is the boys of Bokul. It's that VU in Serakunda. It's the Yaikompi. They have come back home. But it cannot be business as usual. So if we want what they have comes from an environment that they have agreed to fit themselves in. I always remember this was 1997. So that's like almost 20 years plus ago. I remember getting into London and I was picked up by a dear church member and, my suitcase was put on this trolley and we used the lift, went into the car park and he put my suitcase in his car. And I watched this gentleman take the trolley and walk all the way back to the trolley station and he parked it well. And I burst out laughing. And when he came, I said to him, so you can do it. And he said, Pastor, here we can't just do anything, we have to do it properly. Can we also do it properly at home? Because truth be told, ladies and gentlemen, if I beautify somebody else's country, I may have some of the perks of that country, but the truth is that it is not my country. I might adopt it as mine. I may even get the passport or the white card, blue card, green card, yellow card, but originally, I am not from there. And there are some countries, no matter how great you are, you'll never become their president because the regulations and the law is that to be the president, you should have been born there or both of your parents should have been born there. So let's come home and let's work. But while we are working, those of us on this side should be able to look at what are the things that we can change. If we all worked on time and if we all gave 120%, this Singapore dream, this Malaysian dream, this Bahamas dream, and all the things that we talk about would suddenly become a reality. There are many things that make us a darling nation, and we know them, but we just have to tweak them properly. And a lot of them are actually written in this document, but we just need to be concise, precise, with practical, realistic outcomes, benchmarks, and things we need to do. So if you ask me what one word captures what I'm saying, it's the word we all know. It's mindset. Ningde halat, or maybe the lingo will be jiko, our trick, our national way of doing things. Without wanting to go back to where we came from, one day we have to ask ourselves, how come all that happened? How come I could report you, you could report me, I could report my sister could report me? How come I could be fired, my sister could be employed, my sister could be fired, I could be employed? How come suddenly we became so divided? Is it really just one person, or could there be something that was simmering beneath us because these people don't really like these people, and that people think they own this country, and these people think their time is coming and these people's time is over? Because everything that you hear sometimes is laughable. Everybody seems to have temporary amnesia in anything that can make them culpable. So what lessons are we learning? The way we think, the way we appreciate things, the vision we have for our country. And while I'm on this, let me say something, because I know we all know that we have lost a great son of this country, the late Ambassador Femi Peters, somebody I knew personally, and ever since I knew him, he was Gambia. I think if we're looking for one of the modern day freedom fighters for what we are enjoying today, the late Uncle Femi should be one of them. If we are writing the history books together with Solo Sandeng, Koro Sise, Deida Haidara, Chief Ibrahim Mane, and all the names that can go down to Lauren Foster, Lamin Sane, and all kinds that I cannot even remember, all of them. People who have disappeared. Femi Ford, I'm not too sure, he probably held the record of going into prison. And in my own little way, I don't really know whether he had medical attention after that, but I can imagine that he landed running. And that's good for each one of us, but we all learn that sometimes we have to stop and get our checkups. And maybe it's time for those for whom this is important, those in power, to start looking at everybody like that. That's why leaders have annual medics. The American president just had his, because it becomes a great loss, sometimes an irreplaceable one. And of course, our condolences go to his family, the wider family, the immediate family, to the UDP family, to the coalition family, but to us all, because he stuck to his guns and he stood for what he believed. And if we're etching the names of freedom fighters, let's not forget him. And if we're naming stadiums and streets and big places, and I think we should give him the rightful place together with others, because what we enjoy today, the liberty to say what we can say anywhere, is on the blood and the sacrifice of the likes of Femi Peters. And I pray that we will all learn our lessons, because God gives us these people from time to time. You try to talk them out of this thing, it's like a wasted time. I heard his two sisters talk about it. It's like a wasted time. One of them said he would fight anybody else's battle. So if you're looking for leadership, there was one. And I trust that we will honor and celebrate his memory the way it should be done, and not just in platitude form, but in real true form, because really what we have today, the beginnings of it, is what Femi fought for many years. And I'm grateful to Almighty God that he saw it before he bowed out of the stage. He was selfless. There are many things that people say they are fighting for, and once they get it, they make a 180-degree turn, and you keep wondering, is this the person we were fighting with? Was this the woman, the man, all of us in the trenches? What happened? Because, it's like a poor man who tells you he's poor and he's humble, but the humility is the poverty. When you give him $1 million, the humility disappears, as does the poverty. But with Femi, wherever he encapsulated true freedom fighting. And I personally salute him, as I know all of us do. And so it is in the mix of making our nation what it is, we're going to have all these kinds of people come on board. And these would be the pillars, the true people who want to drive it on. And now it's our turn. A blueprint is there. It may not be 100% the greatest blueprint on the earth, but it's skeletal. We can work on it. We can push it. We can make it work. Not for a government, not for a party, not even for the coalition government, not even for His Excellency the President, but for Gambia. As a friend of mine likes to say, the ongoing concern, Gambia, for posterity. To honor the words of our national anthem, to honor the words of our national pledge. And I believe we can do it. I believe we can do it. If we work on the mindset, if we work on selflessness, if we work on learning to celebrate each other, regardless. As I keep saying, I am Aku, and proudly so, but I am Gambian. I do not have an Aku passport. Neither does a Jola have a Jola passport. Neither does a Fula have a Fula passport. We all have a passport that says ECOWAS on top, and it has the Gambia. And whenever we go and wherever we go to is the Gambia. When the anthem is played, it's one anthem. It is the anthem of the Republic of the Gambia. Somebody might think it's their tribal anthem, their religious anthem, their political anthem, but that anthem was there before us. That anthem will stay after us because it captures the nation. It brings a sense of pride. That's why in most places, leaders put their hand to their heart, and it does something to you. It's the hymn of your nation. So if we work on our mindset, and as I said last week, from the very basic primary school formative years, listen, it's great to celebrate Easter, Christmas, Tobaski, Korite, all the things we do. But, let me ask this question. Is it fair on those days to dress our little children and just send them out? Salibo. It may be a religious right, but are we inculcating the value of service for reward, a merit-driven society, or are we inculcating an idea that if I dress my son well and my daughter well and leave him in the town, they may come home with $100? No. So we have to start at that stage. And then even in the dressing, particularly the little girls, can we make it a little modest, humble, and conservative, so we don't have little girls doing a hairdo that managing directors do? They can't afford, it makes no sense. A poor child is probably sitting down between somebody's feet or legs for 7 hours. We need to start there. Change our mindsets, change our attitudes, be ready to be corrected, be ready to stand to be confronted in opposing ideas, because diversity is the spice of life. And then we learn to celebrate one another. Because I didn't get it doesn't mean Mohammed can get it and Pate cannot get it. If Pate gets it, if Pate is a Gambian, then we have got it. Gambia has got it. That's why we are celebrating our diasporans, because they're Gambians. If we think like that, this blueprint will take its own life in our hearts and we'll take it forward. As my time comes to an end, let me stop here and pray that we will do that. But let me go back to where I started. Abiding Word Ministries, the Gateway, is celebrating our executive pastor, Pastor Alhaji Mahmoud Tiana, is 50 today, and we thank God for his life. And secondly, as I said, we honor the memory of the late Ambassador Femi Peters, a true modern-day freedom fighter for the Gambia. And on this note, may God bless us all. Have a good evening and good night.